Hi, this is the Elvish Kill Christine. This is Christine. Um, Not like the channel's still called the Elvish Killjoy, and that's been my handle for like the entirety of my 20s. But I'm actually 31 now, and I don't know if I should change the name of the channel because it's been through so many. This channel, I think, has been through a few different eras and iterations that I don't think that it would be at least not maybe not to like people who like aren't making the content, like maybe just people who are watching the content. It also sort of feels like one cohesive thing. But I think for me, it's definitely like there's the beginning and then there's like that sort of middle part and now there's now, and I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm in my 30s. I have a grown-up job, and I live with a boy and things like that. And so for this video, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I have game footage. It's for a game I really love. It's a mobile rhythm game called Duet, and basically it's just the game is sort of, it takes you through different themes. And the first story mode, there's a story mode, and then there's like an epilogue, and then there's like an encore, and then there's like a few other things that you can do in the game. And The story mode, it takes you through the stages of grief. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to like if this is funny, it doesn't have to be funny. Like I'm just sort of gonna spitball here, and I'm gonna try to go through I'm gonna try to go through the game and use the different levels as sort of like a writing prompt for like a or a talking prompt for like a vlog type of situation. Like, can I do a vlog? And because if I could do a vlog, then like I think if I was just like sort of sitting and like here in my living room shooting the shit with y'all, that's something else. And like that's a different kind of thing that I can do. And I think I would really enjoy that. I think that would be good for me actually to sort of be able to share, and then that would be like a thing that people can see, and maybe I can look back on it in like a few years and be like, "Hey, I this is how I felt when I was 31 on June 25th, 2021." So, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to start the video. And the game itself is really interesting. It's really beautiful. I used to be really good at this game. I used to do the speed runs, and I was getting down pretty fast. But it's been a few years since I've played the game, so I wanted to just jump in and just see how it goes. And let's do it. So the game itself is pretty interesting, but the first word that we're going to be going for is ignorance. And I think when it comes to ignorance, the thing I want to talk about is that I used to be kind of an ignorant person because I grew up in church, and I grew up specifically in the evangelical church, which is which is pretty well known for being not that nice to LGBT people. And I didn't know any better. I genuinely was just like, how to I don't know how to like empathize with that. And I didn't learn how to empathize with that until a really good friend of mine from high school came out from like he came out as bi at the time. And I remember just being not, I wasn't angry at him. I was afraid for him. And it was then that like people like that he was basically like, that's not really how life is. And he basically just sat me down and just he was really really nice about it. And that's why like when people are ignorant, like people are sort of ignorant in front of me, I try to be really nice about it, just because I remember what it's like to be in that place and just sort of have your eyes open to be like, wow, like the things that I was taught wasn't actually how things are. And I ended up trying to learn as much as I could about the Bible so I could be like, how does this work? How is this a thing that's going to how am I going to be a person who will be how am I going to be better to the people around me? And I'd like to think I've learned, but I do know that there's many different things that I'm not super aware of, and I want to be more aware of it, and I want to do better. And that was just sort of where I was. And I'm not that I'm saying I'm like super enlightened now, because there's a lot of things I need to people are always learning and changing and growing, and that doesn't have to be a shameful thing. All right, denial. All right, denial ain't just a river in Egypt. Um, so I think one thing that I was in denial about for a very long time is that I have anxiety, and I have I don't like I I didn't used to treat my anxiety as like a separate thing. It was just sort of, oh, that's just sort of how life is. Sometimes you don't know how to do something and you think that everybody hates you, and that's normal. So and that's just sort of how I felt about that. And then that wasn't sustainable anymore. So like a little under a year ago I started going to therapy, and my therapist was like, well, that sounds like anxiety. And he said that like 6 times during the session. So I was like, oh, I think maybe I have anxiety. And I have a lot of people in my life who deal with mental health issues, and they were all like, we love you, but yeah, you definitely had anxiety this whole time. We were just waiting for you to get there. And now I'm there, and I can't be in denial about it anymore. So now my job is to be as now my job is to try to work around that anxiety and make it so it's not so much of a struggle. All right, so anger. What are things that make me angry? I mean, ignorance makes me angry. Um, but that's a little bit redundant. I think ignorance makes everybody angry. But I think one thing that makes me angry is when people are intentionally mean, like for no reason, like they know that you're not, they know that you don't understand what's happening, or you're not picking up what they're putting down, and then they think it's funny to sort of put you in a situation where you're going to be at their mercy socially. And I don't like seeing other people in situations like that. I think other things that make me angry is when like my friends are being mistreated. I don't necessarily want to see my friends sad or anything like that. And I'm not like a punchy, physical, hitty person, but I also have wanted to really hurt people who hurt my friends. So that's but I think that's also normal. Um, and I also think it's one thing that sort of makes me angry is when people act like they're above that, where they're just like, oh, it's all love, it's all positivity. Because like sometimes it's not all love and all positivity. Sometimes it's just things are bad. Sometimes things are bad, and you have to deal with it at that time, and you have to be honest with yourself. And I think I get angry about that because sometimes I'm not honest with myself. Like I was just talking about how I didn't realize I had anxiety for years, and it was just sort of how I lived my life, and it was honestly kind of damaging to people around me. And it was like, okay, I was in the middle of a thought, but now we're in bargaining. So what are things that I have bargained for? I think when you are a I think when you're like a when this is going to sound weird, but I think when you're a woman, you have to sort of bargain for like any little space for anything. Like it's really, really, especially when it comes to like gaming and whatnot. Like you have to really sit there and fight for your spot at the table. Like I've always been like kind of a nerdy person, and I remember my first time going to Comic-Con, I went with my cousins, and it was super, super like affirming. Like I felt really like I belonged there. And then I told the guy I was seeing about it. It was like my first boyfriend, like my high school boyfriend. And he was like, you shouldn't have been there. That place wasn't for you. You don't read comics. You're not a real fan of anything. You don't belong there. And I was so, so depressed about it. I like let my cousin cut my hair into like a really, really dark black straight bob, which looked good on me, but it was also really sort of difficult to maintain. And you have to, and then I realized later, it's just that's how some men treat women who they feel like they're sort of like encroaching upon their space, and that's not fair. So I think a huge thing is we shouldn't feel like, all right, before we get into guilt, like I want to finish the sentence. We should never make people feel like they need to like push, like they need to like push really hard to be part of a space, because like you're a person, you deserve to take up the space that you deserve to take up. So now guilt. So things that I feel guilty about. I think sometimes some things I was actually talking to a friend about this today. Sometimes we're toxic people. Sometimes we ourselves are the toxic ones, and we do things that end friendships, and we do things that ruin relationships, and those things happen, and it doesn't stop you from being able to grow and change and be a better person, but it also, it makes you feel guilty and it makes you feel gross, and that's only if you get to the point of like self-reflection where you realize, wow, I've been kind of a bullshit person. And there doesn't, and sometimes that can like come in waves, and like, and you can be like, oh, like, well, like they deserved like whatever came to them, but at the same time they might deserve karma, but not from you, or they might deserve karma but not what you think it is, and they definitely didn't, you don't get to be like terrible to someone like for no reason. And I think there have been times in my life where I've been like a bad friend, or a bad girlfriend even, and or a bad family member or whatever, and a lot of different things that I was bad to people for. And part of being able to grow and change is be able to acknowledge that, yeah, like you did those things, and though you're not the best person all the time, you're not perfect, you're not always right, and sometimes that's the best thing that you can do for yourself, is acknowledge that, and then you can start to address like the guilt that comes with that. And there doesn't have to be this major thing with it. All right, so depression. So I don't have depression, but I know when I get into like really anxious moods, like it's noticeable, and people feel it from me. Like I know, like I've been told like my vibes change a little bit, and that's difficult, I think, for people to watch, especially because I'm generally a pretty like extroverted, happy person. And I think when like my anxiety gets really bad, or if I'm too focused on the thing that I'm doing, I'll get to a point where I get like depressed. And I think that was one thing that I really liked doing this channel for, because even though like I really liked doing it, and I had a lot of focus on it, it wasn't my main focus all the time. It was just sort of something that I did like for fun, like with friends, or just to see if I could, or I wanted to like play a dumb text adventure and bitch about it. And that part is fun. But I also think that a huge part of being able to deal with your mental illness and like all these different things is being able to be like, hey, like I know how certain things affect me, and I can choose to let it consume me, which I have on multiple occasions. I've been like, I'm gonna sit at home and not do much, and not take steps to be the person that I want to be, or I can take steps to be the person I want to be, which in turn will make me feel less depressed. And I think starting up with this channel again has been great for me, just because I have the space to do things like this, or do things that are funny, and just do things that make me feel good at the time. And also, like, I'm watching, like, I keep getting distracted because I'm watching my own gameplay of this, and I'm just like, girl, don't do that. Like, don't hit that red ball against that thing. Like, stop doing that. That part's pretty funny. But if nothing else, the game is really beautiful, and just don't let yourself get hypnotized by that. What's next? All right, so hope is next. All right, so I think I have a lot of hopes and dreams and stuff. What I really want to be doing is I really want to write like fiction. Like, I think my dream, I think the way that I said it in college was that I wanted to be the next J.K. Rowling. I wanted to dethrone her. And I have ideas for stories and stuff. I just get kind of sidetracked by other things, other stories, other projects, my day job, a lot of different things that I get sidetracked by. But I do know that that's like my true love. That's like my first love there. I also started writing poetry during COVID, and like I was actually involved with poetry. Like when I was a teenager, I was doing a poetry ministry for at my the church I grew up at. But I really fell off poetry, like spoken word poetry, and I was doing a lot of online open mics. It's this group. What right about now, I was doing their online open mics, and I stopped because we've been doing virtual game night because Michelle, who you've probably heard mentioned on a few of these videos before, is she lives in another state now, and I've been doing and we've been trying to like stay in contact as much as we can, and we're doing a lot of game nights. We've been playing a lot of like Jackbox and Among Us and a bunch of different things, but I haven't been doing poetry, and that's something that I really miss. And I know I have to find something in my state to sort of be like, hey, I started writing poetry in COVID. Please take me under your wing so I can write poetry with you guys too. And that part, I think I'm actually looking forward to doing that myself, to becoming a better poet, and that part's been really great. I also another thing, I really want to have family someday. I actually last night I met a friend of mine. She just had a baby, and I met that baby, and the baby was so tiny and small, and like it was a really beautiful baby, and like the game said, unexpected things are beautiful. And not that the baby was like the baby was actually unexpected, because I actually didn't realize I'd actually seen her a few times during COVID, but I didn't realize that she was pregnant, because on like New Year's, like the one time I saw her where she was like visibly showing, I was like drunk off my ass, and I wasn't really looking. I was like talking to her, but I wasn't really seeing her. So then I saw her like a few months later, and I was like, whoa, you're like really pregnant. When did that happen? And she's just like, you had a whole conversation with me, girl, at a like you were looking right at me. And I'm like, I definitely wasn't seeing you, because I did not know you were pregnant. And I literally was like, and like I swear, like I was just like, I'm sure she was like visibly showing, but I was also like drinking an unknown alcohol, and I just wasn't really looking at her. And just, it happened. Like sometimes that happens, and I'm looking forward to, you know, having a family and having babies, and sort of like being like in with all the things that entails, like all the ups and the downs of that. And I think that's hope. And I think I have a lot of hopes and a lot of different things that I want to be doing. And I think I also have hope that I'm gonna like, or not hope, I'm setting an expectation for myself that I'm gonna stick with this channel, and I'm gonna do as much as I can with the channel, and sort of make it a place to sort of chronicle my 30s if I can, or like my 30s and like the different things going on in my life. Ooh, acceptance. So I think I'm actually going to bring it back down to what I was talking about. I think what I was talking about in the first section, ignorance, was sort of getting better at being a more open-minded person and a more accepting person. And especially because this is like Pride season. If anything, I'm in New York, so our Pride parade, I think, is going to happen on Sunday. They lifted all our COVID restrictions, so we should be getting the Pride parade. I do think when it comes to acceptance that we have to accept ourselves, and we have to accept the people around us, but we also don't have to accept their bullshit. You know, like we don't have to be people who treat each other badly because, oh, that's just who they are. Like, no, like I think we're going to accept people as they are, but we also want to expect that people are going to be better we're going to expect better of people. We're going to expect better of ourselves. And I know, like, for me personally, I would never want to be in a place where people just sort of let me be stagnant or let me just sort of do bullshit just because it makes me comfortable. And I think that's another thing that, like, I'm really happy I started doing this channel again for. It was because I'm I have to constantly, like, think of new things to do for the channel, and I have to sort of expand myself and get to a point where I can be a different, better person. And not that making YouTube videos makes you a better person, but I do think for me, it's helping me expand a little bit as a creator and as a person, because I'm doing this thing now where I'm talking about, like, really deep personal shit while two balls spin around some rectangles, and that part is fun. And I have no idea if people are gonna really vibe with this, and I think it's okay if people don't vibe with this, because it's still something that I did. It's something that I made. It's something that I'm kind of proud of, because I don't think I would have ever done something like this, because I, like, before, like, taking off for like 4 years, because I think when I started this channel with Jess Hatter, who, like, isn't coming back, but, like, when I started this channel, we were there was a lot of like, we wanted to emulate other content creators, like team, like, we were called, like, Team Benevolent Kaboom or some shit, but, like, Team Benevolent Kaboom was really, like, we were trying to make a play off of, like, Achievement Hunter's Team Nice Dynamite. And as much as, like, that was funny and it was cute, like, for us, it also wasn't original. It wasn't us, really, and it wasn't me. So then when I went on to do content by myself, I think there was some part of me that still wanted to, like, be a creator like somebody, and that's a huge part of why I have such trouble writing sometimes, because I want to be like, I think I even said earlier, I wanted to, like, dethrone J.K. Rowling, and that's not really how you should be thinking about creation and making your own stuff. It's like, you shouldn't want to, like, I shouldn't want to be like somebody else. I should want to be like myself. I should want to be the best version of myself. And I think for now, I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do, and do everything I can to be open and authentic and everything that I want to, and be everything that I want to be, I want to become. And I can't do that if I'm trying to be this person or that person, if I'm trying to emulate people. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking inspiration from people, but I also think that there's value in just sort of throwing all that away and being like, well, what do you want? Who are you? And I think I am a person who can be really funny, and who can be very creative, and can make things that people will vibe with. But I think I can also be a person who can sometimes be afraid to do all that stuff, because I'm so worried about making, like, stuff that people vibe with, that I'm not making things that I vibe with. And I think I have to accept that about myself. And it's over.
I am here.
I am here. And I'm here, man. I'm here, and I'm here, like, sort of on this channel, and I don't think that I'm going anywhere. So that's something. Oh, these are the different things. It was, and there's a lot of different things going on in the game. So there's these different challenges. I'm probably not going to do those, and those are other stages. That's the epilogue. The epilogue is next. The epilogue is next, and this was sort of a test just to see, and honestly, I kind of liked this, so I think I might just go and edit this and upload it and try again with the next little bit of footage. So thank you very much for listening to this and sort of taking a chance with it with me. And I have no idea if this is even coherent at all, but I'm gonna go and edit it and see what happens. Thank you for being here. This is Christine, and I'm gonna go now. See you soon.